If we really care about the cardboard, how is it possible that a plastic casing and a red border on a label can result in a $32,000 premium for the same card? PSA versus BGS prices, today on Data Dive. Hey everyone, welcome back to another Data Dive. My name is Tyler Nethercott, better known as Teapot. Thanks as always for stopping by. And today, it's back to the ratios. I've talked about them before, player ratios, variation ratios, and this week, back to the most irrational ones, the grade ratios, specifically focusing on PSA 10 versus BGS 9.5 ratios. Beckett announced this past week that they were reopening for economy service at a 90 to 120 day turnaround. $35 if you want subgrades, $25 without. If you're grading with BGS, don't not get the subgrades. The slabs without the subgrades do even worse than the ones with them on the secondary market, so it's worth the $10 markup if you're gonna go that route. The $35 for a 3 to 4 month turnaround, is it worth it? That's the question I want to answer today. Now, as our friend Northeast Ohio Sports Cards and Comics pointed out when this news broke, any analysis here is not for those of you who prefer BGS graded cards for your own PC. This is about pricing, this is about secondary market values, this is about specifics when it comes to actual resale. And if you want more information in his take, make sure you go and watch his video if you haven't done that already, and subscribe to his channel while you're at it. He's always one of the first to break news like this, and he shoots everything straight for you. So I want to look at some similar things. I want to do somewhat of the same thing, taking a look once again using our intelligence reports and our grade ratio pages, as well as our popular card charts. So let's get right into that. But before we do, of course, I'll be using Market Movers. Market Movers now has over 600,000 cards being tracked daily with specific queries, filtered data. We have improved image recognition on our mobile app, and you can always track your entire collection as it changes in value over time. Visit marketmoversapp.com and use promo code TRIAL for your first 7 days, totally free. So let's get into it. Let's jump over, and once again, here I am on our grade ratios page. In order to get to this page, you simply go to our intelligence reports, this little light bulb with a star in it, to the grade ratios. And I have filtered here comparing PSA 10 to BGS 9.5. I chose the year 2019 Ja Morant, so basically his rookie cards. And I always like to start at the last 14-day average. That's a window when you can get sales that are in a similar time frame to where the player hasn't skewed in one direction or the other. And usually there's more sales, obviously, than the last 7 days. I find it's kind of the sweet spot. And again, this is showing you the average. This is the average multiplier, a 1.54x multiplier for Ja Morant for the same cards. PSA 10 of one card, BGS 9.5 of the same exact card, and that's what it's comparing here. So you see the cards on the left. You can pull this one up first, the first one here. This is his Chronicles Prestige, number 61 in a PSA 10, selling recently at a 3x multiplier over the BGS 9.5. And one of the things that I've observed here on cards like this that are, lower population with BGS, we see this a lot with sort of these like base cards from some of these star rookies. Not a lot of these got sent into BGS, not nearly as many. We know that PSA has been grading, multiples 10x of what BGS is doing. But on these cards, it's even more amplified, where I see a pop of 1736 on this card, for this Ja Morant. We don't have the pop visible here yet for BGS, but I'm sure it's much, much, much lower in terms of the numbers of cards graded. And in those cases, I think this is a situation where the price comp history isn't always there and readily available for a BGS card, and people aren't as attracted to it. It's not as liquid, it's not as reliable, and so you see this like price gap increase sometimes between those. And if we just scroll down and continue to go here, you'll see, like, for example, this one, obviously this is a lower pop card in general and serial number to 249, pop 36 on the PSA 10, but still a 2.35 multiplier, 2.31 on the orange ice, and the list goes on and on and on. You can just scroll down. So this one, actually a lower ratio than what I'm seeing on a lot of other players. At 1.54, that is lower than what we've seen on a lot of BGS cards. More trending in the 1.75 to 2x range. Now, what about, I'm looking at this, and if that's the case, I don't see why I would send a card, if it's, again, just for resale, why I would send a card to BGS for, let's call it, a 4-month turnaround, for $35 when I could send the same card to PSA for a 1 to 2 month, maybe 2 month turnaround, 6 to 8 week turnaround for $50. And I'm gonna get 1.5 to 2x plus the value on what should, in theory, essentially be the same gem mint grade between the two. PSA 10 is their gem mint. BGS 9.5 is gem mint from Beckett. Why would I do that? It just doesn't make a lot of sense. Putting aside any personal preference and fandom, you're gonna send it to PSA. Now, what about SGC? They're obviously in this picture too. They've stepped up and taken a lot of market share while Beckett was closed for grading. What are SGC 10s doing compared to BGS 9.5? And if we scroll over on this same set of cards, again, this is John Morant's 2019 rookie cards, last 14 days, it's about 1 to 1. SGC is even cheaper. SGC is significantly faster. So you've got SGC at $25 to $27 a card if you go through our grading partnership with Got Baseball Cards. Visit our website and check out that and grading in the main menu bar. $25 to $27 for SGC, and those prices might be coming down somewhat soon, hopefully. 2 week turnaround, 16 to 17 day turnaround from SGC now on those cards versus 120 days. Even if this ratio was slightly skewed in favor of the 9.5s, I'm probably still going with SGC in that case, just from a pure resale perspective. So really tough to make a case for Beckett and sending them in at that new price range. If I jump over, this is what's really interesting, and we've seen Beckett's grading service as a whole sort of take a image hit over time. It seems like we've seen the customer service experience and the turnaround times really step up from SGC. We've seen new technology implemented by PSA and obviously a buyout, a takeover. With Beckett, there's been less than stellar reports from a lot of people's experiences. They've been trying to catch up, but they seem to just have really lost a lot of favor. And I've pulled up Luka Doncic's PSA 10 and BGS 9.5 Prism base rookie cards here, going all the way back to our to 2019, late 2019. And if I hover over, you can see these ratios, just roughly doing the math. $79 versus $67. That's obviously not a 2x ratio. 142 versus 175. This ratio was much closer back then. Historically, in 2018 and 2019, we moved from like a 1 to 1, just a 1 to 1 multiplier into like the 1.2 to 1.3 range. And then all of a sudden in 2020, those ratios started to spike and take off. You see $1,300 versus $800. And if we flash all the way ahead now, most recently, you can see $432 versus $284. And if I scroll down here and I go to our ratios tab, you can see, just looking at like specific ending averages, you've got $421 to $213, a 2x ratio on those most recent transactions for these cards. And that's what I've seen being more normal. We can see the same thing if we jump over and look at the Prism Silver. Going back, that ratio was much closer. Obviously, right here, you're at $615 versus $500. Scrolling down into this ratio section again, very similar at 1.99, almost a 2x multiplier. $3,000 versus $1,550. It just makes it really tough. And so we've been discussing, what does Beckett need to do in order to recover, in order to restore their brand image? They have so much historical goodwill in that brand in Beckett, back to their price guides and obviously also with their grading service. What do they need to do to recover and become viable in this market? And does it go uphill from here? Does it get better now that they're reopening? Or does it continue to stay where they're kind of moving into that third place slot behind SGC and with CSG making important moves to become a market player in that space? Now, jumping over just another example, looking at Mike Trout's 2011 and 2012 cards, so really his rookie and second year cards. Smaller sample size here on the Trouts, but you can see a 2x multiplier on the 14-day average. If I jump over and I look at LeBron, I'm comparing his rookie cards, 2.16, even higher for LeBron when we compare his rookie cards in a PSA 10 to a BGS 9.5. And if I come over and I look at this, this is where it gets really interesting. And this is perhaps the one case where you could make an argument for sending to Beckett, to BGS, to get your cards graded, is that obviously you do have that chance, sometimes a pretty small chance, on getting a BGS 10 pristine or even that highly sought after and illustrious BGS 10 black label, the completely flawless, all 4 subgrades, being spectacular. But in this case, you've got $84,000 recently on LeBron's Topps Chrome Refractor on a BGS 10. $84,000. This card sold on May 18th. Same date, May 18th, $52,800 for a PSA 10. So a pretty significant $32,000 upcharge for that BGS 10. Kind of interesting. And then if you jump down to the BGS 9.5, $20,000. So yet again, another $32,000 difference. So you're talking about $20,000 to $52,000, almost $53,000 to $84,000. And this is all based on what one grader's honestly opinion is of the condition of different parts of a card. That can literally come down to one subgrade being a 9.5 versus a 10. You know, if you've got 10, 10, 9.5, 9.5, that's a True Gem Plus 9.5, and you're likely to get somewhere around maybe $20,000 for that. If that grader bumps that corner grade up to a 10, and you've got 3 10s in a 9.5, all of a sudden you've got a BGS 10 pristine, and that card just became worth 4 times what it did because somebody says, yeah, that corner is a little bit better. Does this actually make any sense? This is the part that I really want to hear from in the comments. I want to open up that dialogue. And just as an example, on this BGS 9.5 LeBron that sold, I jump out here and I see edges 9.5, surface 9.5, corners 9.5, centering 9. We know that PSA, a lot more lenient, at least a little bit more lenient on centering. They don't weight it as evenly like Beckett does in this case. You could buy this card, and this may be what this person did. You could buy this card for $20,000, crack it out, be careful, resubmit it to PSA, and based on these subgrades, this looks like it would have a spectacular chance at getting a PSA 10. And even if we come back here, let's throw the PSA 9 back onto this chart and see what that's sold for, you know, most recently, and see what the value is compared to a BGS 9.5. So if I scroll down, you've got the PSA 9 here at $13,000. So you're obviously taking a gamble. You could, in theory, lose 7K, 6.5, 7K if it gets bumped down to a PSA 9, but you could also gain $32,000. On a single card like this, it's a big gamble. If you do this in a bunch of situations and you buy BGS 9.5s on high-end cards and send them in to get them regraded by PSA, it looks like you could stand to make a killing. Now, obviously there's strong opinions about whether or not people should be doing that. Some people think that's part of what's wrong with the market, but I want to open up this conversation and understand more what all of you are thinking. This is the type of thing that, you know, obviously Market Movers is enabling you to be able to do from a data perspective and to understand these, to identify these opportunities. If that's something that you're interested in doing and you've got that skill to crack the cards out carefully, it is a lot easier, I'll say, to crack a card out of a BGS slab because of that inner sleeve than it is out of a PSA slab, and make sure you don't damage it. Something to consider. So I want to know, what's your take on all of this? Does the recent BGS news opening, you know, to their economy service change anything for you? Are you sending cards to BGS for $35 on a 4-month turnaround time before you would send them to PSA for $50 for a 6 to 8 week turnaround, or before you would send them to SGC for $27 on a 2 to 3 week turnaround? Personally, I'm not going to do that. Would you buy a BGS 9.5, crack and resub them to PSA? I might. I know many people who have done it and who do that. And final question for you, what does BGS need to do to restore its place and to have market relevancy once again? Can it ever get back to being a truly respected grading company with comparable after, you know, secondary market values to PSA, like a 1.2 to 1.3x, or even back to even? I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comments. Until next time, thanks so much as always for watching, and happy investing.